You're getting this nice synthesis between science, technology, and Indigenous knowledge. And I think that is kind of a critical bridge we need to confront some of the core environmental challenges that we're facing.
Welcome to the Regeneration Will Be Funded. I'm your host, Matthew Monahan, and in this series, we're having conversations about regenerative finance, technology, and our living planet. How can we build an economy that's in service to life? Brought to you by Earth. You can find all of our conversations at maearth.com. Thanks for joining us. Welcome. Today's conversation is with John Reid, co-founder of EcoIndex. EcoIndex is building a really interesting suite of tools around measuring and reporting on biodiversity information, as well as landscape planning and mapping ecological and landscape restoration. We're coming across several farming and conservation projects in and around EcoIndex. And so I was really excited for this discussion. Let's dive right in with John Reid. We are here today with Dr. John Reid. He's a co-lead on EcoIndex. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
And so EcoIndex recently released the ecosystem restoration map, calling for 15% native ecosystem coverage by 2121. Congratulations on the launch. Can you tell us more about what this map is and what does that mean?
Yeah, sure. So this map has come from, there's been quite a lot of journey behind the creation. What it does is it sets a range of targets across the country for the restoration of ecosystems. And we took a broad whole ecosystem or landscape approach to ecological reconstruction in New Zealand. New Zealand's got some unique characteristics in that we have sort of about 40% of our country still in its native ecosystems. However, we've got large areas where our native ecosystems are almost entirely absent. And so what we wanted to do, following a Māori way of thinking, ki uta ki tai, was to create a situation where we build corridors from mountains to the sea, connecting our areas where we have large amounts of native ecosystem present through to areas where there is much less, particularly in our agricultural areas. And where that flows from mountains to the sea is where we would like to, where we need our ecosystem reconstruction established. Now, there's one of the things is we established a target of 15% ecosystem extent. And the reason we set that target is a lot of the science suggests that there is a particular threshold. When your ecosystem extent drops below 15%, that is when you get significant biodiversity loss. And so we kind of set it at that level of target. Mm. We also set it at what we were calling a catchment scale. So that is every catchment in the country has ecosystem reconstruction within that catchment up to that 15% figure of each ecosystem type. Mm-hmm. So there's many different ecosystem types, but we'd like to see those reconstructed in the areas. So what the mapping system does, it will tell you the amount of ecosystem that requires reconstructing within that catchment area by ecosystem type. So it'll tell you how much is currently there in that area, how much needs to be reconstructed to meet that target, and does it by ecosystem type. Mm. And so what that does is it gives pretty clear targets within a catchment area of what needs to be done. And given that certainly our farming community operates in a catchment type thinking, or the way in which they often operate within catchment groups, it also gives clear insight into how to operate as a collective within a catchment by establishing these targets.
Right. So New Zealand overall, Aotearoa has roughly 40% of its habitat, you said, kind of in conservation, or how would you argue?
Yeah, it's something to that extent, although that has been so. There's different ways to look at it. So we could think of pre-human ecosystem extent or predicted natural vegetation extent. So that's what it would be without humans or prior to humans arriving in New Zealand. But then we had significant ecosystem shifts with Māori arriving, particularly with coastal forests, particularly in the South Island and the drier areas, shifting from forest to a range of drier ecosystem habitats, mostly grasslands and so forth, tussock grasslands. And so there has been some shift, although they would still be considered native ecosystems. Some change has happened with people arriving. So yeah, it's about 40%, although if humans weren't here, it probably wouldn't look like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we can look at the country overall, but what you're saying is when you go down to the catchment level, then there are a lot of areas where the number's dramatically lower than 40%, much lower than 15%.
Yes.
And so hence why you're really thinking about it catchment by catchment rather than just overall percentage at a country level.
That's right. Yes. Percentage at a country level, New Zealand would be looking pretty good. 40% of its country and native ecosystems currently, but there's key ecosystems where it's significantly below that, particularly our wetlands and lowland forests. In most cases have been largely cleared and are well below the thresholds needed to maintain the biodiversity that lives within those forests and within those forest ecosystems.
Right. And can you share more about the catchment that you live in and what's happening around you?
Sure. So I live in Canterbury, in Christchurch, and so that's probably the most modified area in New Zealand. So first of all, with Māori arrival, a lot of the plains in Canterbury's large plains going up to mountains to the main divide, most of Canterbury was forested. But following Māori arrival, due to forest fire, most of those forest ecosystems transformed into tussock grassland mixed with forest groves, and certainly on those plains areas. And but then with the European arrival, it transformed into a agricultural landscape, mostly sheep and beef farming, and some into introduction of exotic pastures, ryegrass and clover. But then, more recently, that's transformed again. The plains across Canterbury have transformed into dairy farming, which is more intensive in that area. But probably one of them, not too many people know that entire region, also certainly the coastal region where the rivers meet the sea, were large deltas, delta regions. Māori called it the Rakahuia Delta, and what it means is the food basket, just because of the huge amounts of mahinga, wild foods that were produced in that area. But but those areas were drained, and so there's only about 3 to 4% left of the large delta regions that once existed there. And Christchurch is situated on that delta, so it was drained for the establishment of Christchurch. And so, you can see significant shift, particularly in the loss of delta systems, the loss of first of all loss of coastal forest, and then the loss of the tussock grasslands, and then a significant effort to be able to bring those levels back up to that kind of 15% figure.
Right. Okay, so I want to just stick with the map for a moment and then ask you a bit about Eco-Index and some of the other tools you've been developing. But so this map is really, it's multi-purpose, if I understand, in terms of it can support farms and planning their biodiversity. It can support councils in
Yes.
terms of planning at the kind of catchment level.
Yep.
It could support, the entire country to see where are our
Yes.
biodiversity hotspots, what needs to be
Yes.
tended.
Yep.
It can support projects embarking on restoration to not only have the data they need internally, but also for funding applications or to go out to the external market and kind of describe what they're doing.
Yes.
And it comes at a moment in time when there is a much greater emphasis on thinking about biodiversity. Obviously with the Montreal Agreement recently, we have these 30 by 30 targets that are emerging globally. And we've already kind of implicitly covered why that might be problematic to think about just at a country level scale. Are there other comments that you would offer in terms of the purpose of the ecosystem restoration map and maybe the moment that we find ourselves in when you're releasing it?
Yeah, sure. So when we were developing the map, we worked very closely with industry in New Zealand, particularly our farming industry, because that's where a lot of that type of restoration work needs to happen. And one piece of feedback we kept getting is we need some level of target setting. How do we know what we, in terms of biodiversity? How do we know how much we need to do and over what period of time? So we've set a target of 100 years to reach that 15% type figure, because what that does is it enables those farming communities and those farmers to say, oh, okay, this is what needs to happen over time. It gives some level of surety that this type of restoration needs to happen over a sequential period, and this is how much it's going to cost. And so it just enables better planning at that sort of level. So target setting helps in that sense. So every year, you're heading toward some sort of broader target. So that's at that on-ground level. Also, like you said, when you pop up another level, the target setting helps if you're working at a catchment group level. So you can have a discussion of, okay, how we might want to reach this target within our catchment, jump up another level to the regional level. So in New Zealand, we have our regional councils that do our environmental plans for our regions. That gives them some idea, because the regions go across catchments. That then gives them some level of surety and an idea of the type of targets that they need to meet. And then, of course, you can, the mapping system also uses regional boundaries, so regional jurisdictional boundaries. It enables analysis from that level, but it also enables analysis from a national scale. So you can see how New Zealand's going as a whole against a set of targets. We know the 15% figure is reasonably good from that sense, but if New Zealand's to meet its international obligations, its obligations to itself, to maintain its biodiversity, then it needs to be looking at having some this sort of target in place and having some sort of idea in mind of how it reaches that target. The other thing, the key element to here, is that the analysis also enables how we also have in New Zealand iwi or tribes, Māori tribes, that also have the jurisdictional boundaries. So it enables those tribes to also see what's happening within their takiwa or rocky or tribal territory. And so which is also a powerful tool for them with their own environmental planning and thinking. Then when we get to international scale, once again, there's the idea is, New Zealand needs to report internationally what's happening in regards to its obligation to maintaining the world's biodiversity. And so this gives a target at that scale to say, this is where we currently are, this is where we're heading, and this is how we're meeting our international obligations in that sense. But I also think it's not been they've set these targets, the international targets they're saying was at 30%. However, there's some weaknesses with that target, because it says, okay, maintaining, it doesn't specify what ecosystems to maintain in that target. Whereas within our mapping system and the approach we've taken, we've specified the ecosystems, like maintaining each ecosystem at 15%. And so there's some weakness in those international targets. But it also provides a basis in a whole in another way also when it comes to things like biodiversity credits and so forth, because it provides a target to measure something against. It gives you some sort of form of verification, particularly if we start bringing in our remote sensing and tools like that, which enable us to more accurately understand what's happening in a particular area, and we can verify that these targets are being met.
Got it. Got it. So when I saw the headline, my first gut reaction was 15%. That's not nearly ambitious enough.
Yes.
2121. That's like, I'm not going to be alive for that. Yeah. What would you say to that?
Well, we debated this long and hard, and 15% is still ambitious. Even some of the, we're talking in the many, we're talking in the hundreds of billions to do that level of ecosystem reconstruction. So there's just simple budgetary constraints. New Zealand is a little bit different in this sense, perhaps, than other places internationally. We have huge issues with introduced predators. New Zealand didn't have any mammals apart from 3 bats. So we've got major issues with pest control here on our native ecosystems which haven't adapted for these types of browsing species and predators. And so there's enormous cost just to maintain the biodiversity we have and the ecosystems we have, let alone going about doing ecosystem reconstruction at the same time. When you're doing ecosystem reconstruction here, you need fencing, you need to constantly do predator control and pest control. So there's a lot of costs associated with it. So that's the first thing. So keeping the costs within something, some sort of realistic bounds, so to speak. But then there's the second thing is that 15% is reasonably ambitious when you break it down by catchment and you break it down by ecosystem type. We're not saying that, we're also saying keep what we have in addition to it as well. So, there's this, so it's basically the bare minimum, the 15%. But New Zealand's national policy statement came out recently, which set a target of 10%.
And the national policy statement's very critically important for those who are overseas.
Yes.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, so that's setting a target for New Zealand's regions and their environment plans to ensure that they retain 10% of the ecosystems beyond our conservation estate. The issue with that target is, of course, it's below what's needed in terms of a critical threshold to maintain biodiversity. And the second issue, it doesn't do it by ecosystem type. So someone could just go and plant native trees or whatever it might be anywhere that don't actually suit that environment or whatever. So there's no underpinning planning or science underpinning that target. So that 15% is a science-backed target that pushes it from the 10 to 15. But there's some research saying it should sit at 20%, and others research saying it might be even 25%. So 15% is a good initial position. That's just to stop the continued decline, and is reasonably ambitious. But the other thing is that it's 25% is probably where we might land over time. And I think it's just to get that sort of that ball rolling in that sense. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're taking a pragmatic approach. Yeah. You're increasing the ambition from where our national policy statement is considerably, trying to stay within the parameters of within the current kind of system and paradigm. Here's kind of something that, we can start marching towards, even though we're probably going to have to get more ambitious and accelerate these efforts with time.
Well, that's right. And just to think that where this 15% needs to occur is in some of New Zealand's most valuable land in terms of agriculture. Right. So it's quite a, there's
a huge cost.
Yeah, there's a huge cost involved because there's potentially taking land that's currently in productive land use and using it for biodiversity purposes. But once again, I think the way the world's evolving, that we're, with, potentially around biodiversity credits or other things, there may be mechanisms emerging to support landowners in that type of that type of transition.
And when you compared the restoration map to what we see out of Montreal or what we see out of the national policy statement, in both of those points, you pointed out that really by ecosystem type is one of the critical distinctions. And so can you just kind of elaborate a little bit further on like how many different ecosystem types are you identifying, and maybe if there's any common misconceptions or things that New Zealand should be extra aware of in terms of its threatened ecosystem types?
Yeah, sure. So currently we're using a classification system which is classifying our ecosystems at quite a broad scale. So I think there's about 14 different ecosystem types. Of course, there's many more. And we're looking to build in that complexity over time. So, using different scales, which will be breaking those ecosystem types down into many more types. And so but this is a technology question as well about how we pick up, sense the different types of ecosystems and how they're changing over time. So at the moment, we've got the technology to do it at this broader scale to look at changes in this smaller set of ecosystem type. But when you get down to the very break it down into its much smaller scale, then that's something to be working on and continually improving on over time. In terms of our threatened ecosystems, or very specific ones, because we're trying to think about it on a whole of landscape type scale, and these can be quite small areas within that sort of within that broader view. We've tended to focus on where that need is on that whole of national scale, and the whole of national scale planning, because the threatened ecosystems, there's kind of a concentration on that already. In terms of identifying and protecting those, although we will eventually like to bring those within the system as well.
Got it. Okay, so we'd love to ask, what gives this set of models and this mapping credibility in the scientific and research community? How did you go about constructing it? I know you're leaning into a number of advanced technologies, using international data sets as well as local data sets.
Yes.
Can you share more about how it's been constructed?
Yeah, sure. So, I have to give credit to my team. So I've got my co-lead, Kitty, and I probably should have had one of the ecologists here as well. They could be, speaking, and our engineers and so forth. But, I'll do my best to provide a view of how the system works. But so the scientific rigor has been a real question for us, because there's, if we're going to get really pure about the science, that can sometimes hold you up. Particularly, do we have, what's the strength of the evidence base for the 15% figure, and there's evidence out there, but could you really hang your hat on it? It's but it's a fuzzy world, and sort of, so we had to start somewhere in that sort of sense. But amongst our applied ecologists, so the people that are on the ground, and our ecologists, we arrived at that figure through pulling on all that the science literature we could, and having a bit of a discussion and workshopping and brainstorming and that sort of thing. That's where we ended up at that figure. But then when we come to the detection of ecosystem itself, we've been using existing databases that are available in New Zealand. The Manaki Whenua, one of our Crown Research Institutes, it does a survey every 5 years, looking at the different ecosystems, their scale and their type, and how they're changing over time. So we were using some of their layers, and we were combining them with other layers of analysis that have been done nationally. So predicted vegetation layers, what used to be in New Zealand. We've been drawing in other data around wetlands particularly. So we've been, this is one of the key areas in New Zealand, is has a huge deficit as a North wetland area. So we've been looking to distinguish between those various wetland types, and so we've been drawing all the data together across the country to form, in our the shape files from those different data sets to form our existing the layers, the sort of data layers, the GIS data layers that underpin our system. So, we've drawn on the science, the broader science of the New Zealand science community to construct that layer. So, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel ourselves. So it's as good as New Zealand can produce at the moment. But what we're trying to do is to get to a much higher level of accuracy. And this is where we've had a partnership with Planet, the satellite company who's been very generous in terms of being able to provide us with the data we need to get much more detailed, higher resolution imagery of the country. Within some of the engineers on our team, then now developing using artificial intelligence. They're creating biodiversity signatures for the different ecosystem types in New Zealand, and trying to break it down into all the little categories. And so we're working it through from what we think are the most threatened systems. So we've started with wetlands, distinguish between different types of wetlands, and they're calculating, developing these biodiversity signatures for those, and with our lowland forests, particularly Kaitiaki. So that's where we've started with there, so we can detect those. And so what it means is that as we use this Planet imagery, we can use these algorithms to scrape that data, and then it can tell us the current extent of kahikatea or wetlands across the country, or wetlands and lowland forests, and how they're changing over time in terms of their extent. So that's where we're drawing on that new tech and science to better be able to categorize and to particularly to measure changes over time. And
for those less familiar with the satellite data landscape, what makes Planet's data so particularly useful or relevant in this context?
So currently, a lot of the satellite data you can get for free, operates at about a 10 meter by 10 meter resolution. So that's every pixel. The image is 10 meters by 10 meters. Whereas Planet data takes us down to, in some cases, to 400 mil by 400 mil on the ground. What that does is enables much higher resolution, enables you, of course, to see things much more clearly on the ground, and enables artificial intelligence to detect the pattern on the ground much more easily. But I believe Planet is bringing out a satellite shortly that has 400 bands of infrared. And infrared picks up all the chlorophyll in the plants, so that 400 bands enables you to pick up much more accurately all the different plant species types that might be in an area. So we're looking forward to that coming as well, because that's going to improve our levels of accuracy and training the artificial intelligence to be able to detect these different ecosystem patterns. So I think that's the thing, is like we've mostly been talking about ecosystem extent, but it doesn't tell us a lot about the health of that ecosystem. It's just saying whether it's present or absent. Right. And so that's another whole area to explore and move into, is the detecting ecosystem health remotely. And for us, that would be things like Australian possums were introduced to New Zealand, and they're a pest that destroys the forests. But you can see they're present in a forest from satellite by crown dieback, so trees dying back, and you can see or for trees that don't flower every year. So these sort of signatures, biodiversity signatures, can tell us also the level of browsing pressure or pest and disease within those forests. The other thing we can distinguish as well, using things like LiDAR, is the density within the forest, the understored density, so we know whether there's animals browsing within them and so forth. So we're also looking to have to determine levels of biodiversity health as well through these remote sensing technologies. And that to us would be the holy grail, to be able to do both assessing both ecosystem extent and assessing ecosystem health remotely in that sort of sense.
Got it. So is it a fair characterization to say that this ecosystem restoration mapping that you've just released and a lot of the work that surrounds this in the wider community is being enabled, kind of newly enabled by some of the latest advancements of technologies across AI, drones, satellite, remote sensing?
Yes, this has only become possible in the last 3 to 4 years in terms of the tech that's available and its affordability. When we originally designed the Eco Index, which was called the Bioheritage Scorecard in its early days, the technology wasn't even really there to do it then. What we'd started out doing was to work on a ground-up level, so working with conservation groups, our Department of Conservation, farmer groups and so forth, to get data on the ground and then build out an eco-index up from the ground. But now we can build it from the top down, but validating using our relationships on the ground to validate that information. So, yeah, it's been a game changer.
Nice. Okay, so Eco Index is the group that has released this map.
Yes.
And we've talked quite a bit about the map, but what other activities are you engaged in, both from an Eco Index perspective, as well as I know there's Kaitiaki Intelligence Platform, which is another initiative that you help co-lead.
Yes.
Can you share more about that?
Yeah, sure. So the Kaitiaki Intelligence Platform goes beyond biodiversity. So Eco Index is purely focused on biodiversity. New Zealand has 2 other key environmental issues. One is agricultural runoff from our farms. That's a fertilizer runoff. So that's nitrates. Those are nitrates and phosphates flowing into our rivers and into our aquifers. And it's a significant problem in New Zealand. New Zealand's, some of our statistics are some of the worst in the world in our lowland rivers in terms of levels of pollution. And so what that means is that we need to be able to get much higher resolution detection of nitrates and phosphates and being able to understand where they come from and how they're moving through and within our landscapes. So that's one element, is understanding nutrient flows better within our country. The next piece is, of course, carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions. So that's another thing. New Zealand's largest footprint from in regard to GHGs, greenhouse gas emissions, is from agriculture in New Zealand. So dealing with those 2 issues would be significant for the country. And so
and for someone who hears that and says, well, I'm familiar with, greenhouse gases, global warming, temperature rise, bad. But what about this, runoff issue? Like what is the damage to ecosystems and the consequence?
Okay, so what nutrients do is that within rivers is that they feed bacteria and algae and bad forms of bacteria and algae that suck oxygen out of the water. So they they also form it, and the types of bacteria also make make people sick if they drink the water or swim in the water. So it's so it both takes out the biodiversity within that river system. Usually all the fish and so forth within that area. So it's that dual effect of
and the images are so just gut-wrenching to see it when you see the runoff right into the tributaries and out into the ocean.
And just to explain also that, the term why Kaitiaki Intelligence Platform. So in New Zealand, Kaitiaki is a Māori term to mean a guardian or somebody that looks after the environment. And so that's where it was chosen. It was also a program that focused on working with our Māori organisations, our Māori authorities and tribes. So it's been led from that type of position, trying to and sort of ingest and have the platform built using Indigenous thinking.
Yeah, you had a webinar. You said that the iwi are well positioned to invest in these technologies and to essentially, kind of lead in a lot of these restoration areas.
Yes.
Why is that?
So this is a reasonably long story, but New Zealand has been going through a settlement process between the New Zealand government, what we call the Crown, and Māori, which are the Indigenous people to New Zealand. And there's many Māori tribes. And they've been going through what you might call a reconciliation process. So that entails where the New Zealand government and the tribe arrive at kind of an agreed history of what happened in regards, and then once that sort of level of agreed history is arrived at, there's an apology made to that tribe and compensation is provided. And so what we have here, I think it's 76 tribes in New Zealand have settled with the New Zealand government, and they've received compensation, which often involves assets and cash, but also a range of other governing responsibilities and powers, the power sharing type agreements. And so that's what the settlement process has given rise to. So what this means is, and that process has been very successful. So the first tribes, or we call them iwi in New Zealand, settled in 1997. And so some are coming up 26 years post-settlement and have grown their settlement asset base significantly. So they have built a lot of wealth, and with that economic influence, with the economic growth and economic strength is translated into also growth in political influence. So there's an ability to both, and also with the powers given or reobtained through the settlement processes, it means that Māori can influence environmental policy in New Zealand, but they also have the wealth to invest into new approaches and thinking and technologies. Just an example, Ngāi Tahu and iwi in the South Island has been investing heavily. It owns significant farming assets, and it's been investing in regenerative farming practices to see that they can reduce their nitrate and phosphate footprints in the areas and be a national leader on that front. And so you can see them making these types of investments to try and transform what's happening in New Zealand. Yeah.
And not to go off too much from Kaitiaki Intelligence Platform, but that trial by Ngāi Tahu, I mean, we hear a lot about that.
Yes.
Can you just share a bit more at a high level what that is?
Yeah, sure. So it's a partnership between Ngāi Tahu and our Ministry for Primary Industries. So they've both invested in that. And so we've got our traditional pasture systems we use in New Zealand. And then you have regenerative pasture systems, which have, you might have 20 or 30 different grass type species within it, or a range of species within it, more like a meadow, looks more like a meadow, versus our traditional systems, which are just two species, ryegrass and clover. Now, these new systems, this is certainly those who have been on the leading edge of these experimental type approaches. The idea being is that it's much more rich, it's much more biodiverse, and particularly it's far deeper rooting, the pasture is. So it might go down 3 or 4 meters under the ground versus, ryegrass and clover, which is roots reasonably shallowly. What that means is that the plants can capture and store the nutrients in the soil, but they can also capture carbon out of the atmosphere. There's an idea that you can use the soils to capture carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and store it underground, and at the same time you can capture your nutrients that are flowing from the farm animals and from fertilizer into your soil, and so you capture it and hold it there and stop it running into our aquifers or into our streams. So there's the idea, and there's also the systems, the way they're designed, they're far less dependent on fertilizers because you're capturing what little, you put much less on, it's captured much more easily, and some regenerative farmers claim that they don't require any at all if they, learn how to operate that system appropriately.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of pilot program or research that's happening with Ngāi Tahu is trying to make sure that we have a robust set of data and measurements and science and kind of peer review in the New Zealand community around this kind of shift towards regenerative agriculture and kind of making sure that we're really looking at this in a way that can be trusted so that farms can start to change their practices. Yeah,
that's right. There's a like anything, society tends to be divided into, well, not a simple division, but, people that are more open, they like change, they want things to transform quickly, and then there's those that are more traditional or conservative, and these two forces often in tension. If you push things too fast, then you get kickback. Society can't change as fast as some people want, and so that creates an issue though when we're in an environmental. Well, I suppose we're in a state right now where we have to transform very quickly, but society can't move as fast as we need to move. So what you have, and that's the same in the farming community as any other community. So the idea with the Regenerative Farming Project is to say, hey, we're going to take a lead here. We're going to do, and we're going to do the science behind it to show that it works. And if we show that it works and we build the relationships across the farming community and across those industries, then how can we move and transition those industries much more quickly to types of farming practices that are carbon neutral and have low nutrient footprints. So that's kind of the nutrient emission footprints. So that's the sort of the aim on that front. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so back to Kaitiaki Intelligence Platform. You started with kind of addressing these other two major ecological issues beyond biodiversity, where Eco Index is focused. Obviously, our greenhouse gas emissions and then our nutrient runoff. And so, can you share more about how you're seeking to address that with the platform and what it is?
Yeah, sure. So, well, when we started this, the build. So this is a design for a platform build. So what we did, it's funded by New Zealand's Our Land and Water Science Challenge. So what we did was we went around and we were asking different groups, particularly Māori groups, well, what do you want to have measured environmentally? what are the key things for you across those iwi? And then we went to industry and to what they call assurance system providers. These are people that assess sustainability on farm. And we also went to the finance sector, who often have to report on their sustainability footprint. We asked them, what sort of environmental kind of metrics do you want to measure? So we started from that point. And then after that, we started to look, well, what is the technology you can use to make those assessments, preferably remotely, because if we can do it remotely, we can do it cheaply, and we can do it on scale across the country. So we can generate pictures of what's happening all over the country. So that was kind of the idea. So and so we cover multiple key areas of concern, which are, the key ones I just outlined, sort of the biodiversity, the carbon, the nutrients, nutrient emissions, but also there's a range of other things. Having erosion is another big issue for New Zealand, or what they call pugging or compaction, where there's too much stock in an area and it destroys pastures, or just so a range of these sort of environmental areas, but of which most can be done using remote sensing technologies today. So we looked at what the remote sensing technologies are, how they fit together, and how you do a build and how much it'll cost. Yeah.
Got it. And the science challenges that have provided the funding for both Kaitiaki Intelligence Platform and Eco Index, I understand. Can you share more about what those science challenges are and some of those details?
So these science challenges began about a decade ago, and what they were established for was to deal with what you might call a wicked problem. So problems that are, just not easily solved. They've got multiple causes, so you have to address the problem with those multiple causes in mind. And so they were focused on key areas of concern for the country. So The three that are most relevant here would be our land and water science challenge. So that's dealing with the issue of water quality and farming practice generally. So dealing with all those types of environmental issues. Then you've got the Biological Heritage National Science Challenge dealing with biodiversity, the Biodiversity Loss Challenge. And then you've got the Sustainable Seas National Science Challenge, which looks at our marine environment and looking toward building a blue economy.
And your background was kind of more traditionally academic and research based. Is that fair?
I've worked as a scientist for several years at the University of Canterbury, senior research fellow there, but also worked in our tribal corporations here in New Zealand, our iwi corporations. So and looking at tribal economies, tribal economic development. Also worked with our iwi here as well, looking at transition strategies for where they hold their assets, which is in farming, forestry, and fishing. So how we look at transitioning those industries onto sustainable footing. So so a bit of science and research, but also a lot of hands-on.
And fairly now, entrepreneurial startup type of projects as well. And I'm curious, kind of given that blend of perspectives, when you think about the funding landscape, and then you think about the science challenges, for example, how do you view the highest integrity, most effective ways for us to fund the kind of research and kind of science and technology development, such as EcoIndex, because there's obviously pros and cons to all sorts of different funding sources, whether you go public or private, or just curious.
Well, sure. So I think it comes down to a key point. I think that currently, and I think this is beyond science and research in science, but also perhaps even success in society generally is often rewarded to specialists. So people that have become very specialized in an area and become highly successful in that area. So, and you can see that in a science discipline or whatever it might be. But what that misses out on is being able to think, using induction, seeing the broader patterns and interconnections across environment and society, and taking, even look at the way our governments are siloed into departments that deliver different services that often have but they're attempting to address a problem that requires them all to coordinate and work together, usually in some sort of sense. So that's kind of one of the underlying issues is the ability to think systemically and to think inductively and to see all the interconnections, because that's how we need to solve our big environmental problems and challenges we're dealing with. And so that's what the science challenges have attempted to do in some way, with some success and also some failures on that front. But the key element there was bringing together multidisciplinary teams. I just know within the EcoIndex it was several years, like we're made up of ecologists, economists, sociologists, psychologists, who else we got there? Engineers, So to bring those groups together to solve the issue, and so that multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary science is key. Learning each other's, everyone had to learn each other's languages, and then you start to have pattern formation of understanding commonalities and patterns. Once you hit that point of pattern formation, you can start to understand where the solutions might sit. Otherwise, you play whack-a-mole, one thing pops up, you whack it down, another thing pops up. It's sort of like, how do you create a program or a way of operating that whacks all the moles at once? So that's kind of that type of way of thinking. And I think that's where what we've really encouraged in our science challenges here is a lot of the work is being built on te ao Māori cultural ways of, operating and thinking. So bringing in, different, metaphysics or different ways of conceiving of the world that are based on more interconnected ways of operating and thinking, which kind of aligns with ecology, but it also brings in a depth element of, seeing the environment as a fellow person that you're having a connection and a relationship with. So it also grounds the research within ethics and sees interconnectivity. And then when you bring in that layer of multidisciplinarity, then that's when you're starting to hit, starting to create the ability to form rich pictures and solve really complex problems.
Are there any other specific examples you could point to where that other way of seeing the world might show up in work around things that are so technical and so commonly associated with more of a scientific reductionist point of view, like constructing the maps and using remote sensing and satellites and AI? And like, I think people might hear that and kind of not intuitively feel, well, where does that Mātauranga and where does that, Māori cosmology, really come into play?
Yeah, so let's, I suppose, first of all, what are satellites? If we're getting satellite data, what does it do? It's basically creating patterns of data. So, and what AO does is pattern recognition. So you've got, two things happening there. So when you have those two things, that's operating at that level. But the other thing is artificial intelligence can take in way more variables than a human being can. So it can start to recognize patterns in a way people can't. This is why they can do it so fast, right? And so this is an area to be explored, but there's a potentiality here that it can understand complexity and interactions in one way that humans can't. Humans can do it in another way. It can't, but there's potential there. So there's opportunity there. And so a lot of the things we look at is Mātauranga, Māori knowledge, Māori ways of operating, how does that fit with these new technologies? And because Māori knowledge, when you think it's multi-layered, but one element of it is, of course, pattern recognition, cycles of seasons, how they move, species presence, absence, how they migrate, thinking, in terms of all the environmental elements, how things operate according to different cosmological cycles. It might be when fish might, breed or at certain times of year based on certain cycles of the moon. So there's just this rich and deep understanding of pattern recognition evolved over centuries or thousands of years in many Indigenous people's cases. There's also experimentation and playing over time. So you build knowledges through experimentation, environmental management, learning how to do things in relation to the environment. So you build up these layers of Indigenous knowledge, and then there's, of course, other forms of Indigenous knowledge that might be called shamanic, which is more the transcending, individual consciousness to understand different environmental consciousnesses. So, Indigenous knowledge is made up of all these layers of knowledge. And so what brings with it is a sense, one is an understanding of cycles and patterns and relationships, but it also brings with a deep sense of connection, ethics, and awe for nature. So if you take that that way of thinking and you use that to ethically orientate and underpin the way in which artificial intelligence is deployed and operated, and you can use Indigenous knowledge to ground truth that artificial intelligence, particularly if it's telling you something's happening on the ground and you're working with Indigenous groups, I'm not quite sure about that. We usually see this species turn up at this time of year, or it means this, or, things like that. You can start to have this interaction and relationship between the technologies and Indigenous knowledge in the sense that it provides those parameters and guidelines for its formation and development. And of course, so you're getting this nice synthesis between science, technology, and Indigenous knowledge. And I think that is kind of a critical bridge we need as a species, I suppose, to confront some of the core environmental challenges that we're facing.
Beautifully said, John. So what's next? What's next for Eco Index? What are the next wicked problems you're approaching, and how do people engage with the work?
Yeah, sure. So the next thing we've got a range of tools coming out. We've got one coming out this is a heat map. So it turns the landscape into a heat map. And what it shows you across New Zealand is where you should, tells you where you should do your ecosystem reconstruction. So, in ecology, there's certain places that are more optimal than other places to do ecosystem reconstruction. So one is you've got a remnant piece of forest in place A and a remnant piece of forest in place B. You may want to look how you can connect those two to create a corridor between those two so that species can move between them. Another thing is stepping stones between the different ecosystems. So you might want to do a little patch another little patch between those two so a bird can fly, say, for the 5 kilometers from one forest to the other forest to the next forest. And as they go along, they drop seeds. And so, it establishes this thing for the creation of corridors. And the next thing is connectivity across all ecosystems. So starting from the mountains to the sea, how do you create corridors flowing all the way through from those two? So you can be connecting all the ecosystems up that were once connected so that species can move through them. And so that you get this, what would you call it? A threshold effect. So when you hit a critical threshold, you get to a certain point where the biodiversity takes off because you've hit certain targets within an area. So looking at how you can connect it all. It also takes into account things like lower cost areas, lower land cost areas. So our farmers can leave their higher producing stuff and more valuable forms of land, but they can look to the lower cost places to do their reconstruction type work. It also looks at things like erosion control. So, you might want to do your ecosystem reconstruction stuff here where you're getting a lot of erosion and sedimentation into waterways. So this map, you can go on and take a look and click a button, zoom in right down to a farm level or out to a catchment level, and it shows you the ideal places through a heat map. So the hottest areas is the places to concentrate on. And then if perhaps that's not viable to do it there, then it shows you from there the next best, the next best, the next best from an ecological perspective. So yeah, we're thinking it's pretty cool option. Well, it's the first we've seen in the world of that sort, but you could see how it might apply in other places internationally. The other thing that goes along with that too is there's the economics that sit behind all of this. So we're automating the process where you can say, okay, we're going to do this ecosystem reconstruction through these areas. It also tells you how much it's going to cost. It's also going to tell you the ecosystem services benefits. So what's the benefits to, for reducing carbon emissions, cleaning water, these sort of things. So and does all the economic calculations in the background. And so the idea being is that we set up the basis or the foundation to be able to do things like assurance and biodiversity credits and all these sort of areas. So, looking at the financial side of things.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. And is that a 2024 project?
Well, we're actually just going through where our program is ending in June. We've got a range of products we want out by then. We're currently though in discussions around how we can keep things moving. So
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say, I mean, you and I have just met, but Eco Index's reputation has been growing in my world, and I hear about it from lots of different places and contexts, and almost, always it's accompanied with some sort of compliments to you and the team in terms of the good work that you're doing. And so many of our conversations here in New Zealand and globally come back to the need for measurement, the need for data, the need for better planning, the need to bring biodiversity more into the forefront of our lens and discussions. So yeah, just really excited, and it's neat to see this, kind of global data being also applied locally, being enhanced and kind of modeled and used kind of in a New Zealand context, so that we can plan, how we're gonna turn the ship around and get to work. So really appreciate the time. Any closing thoughts or any final words?
No, just thanks for the opportunity, Matt. pleasure to be here, and look forward to keeping the conversation going.
Great. Thanks, John.
Okay. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion with John Reid. You might also be interested in the conversations we've had with folks at Planet Labs, including Will Marshall, Robbie Shingler, and Tara O'Shea. You can find links in the show notes, and everything is available at maearth.com. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel for more episodes coming soon. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.